Hello all, Frost here again with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the end of Act 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen and one of the series' best fights, Yuji vs Mahito Round 2. I think this fight is still in contention for now, before the end of the manga, for top 3 fights in the series in terms of build-up, payoff, themes, and choreography. So let's just skip the formalities and get to the nitty-gritty of this fight and what makes it such a grand masterpiece. Yuji had just woken up from Sukuna's control over his body to see the sheer destruction and decimation of Shibuya at the hands of Sukuna. After having a mental breakdown at the sight of such carnage at the hands of the King of Curses, Yuji decides he needs to get back on the battlefield to justify his existence. He stumbles upon a sight straight from his nightmares, Nanami standing, Mahito's palm resting firmly on his chest. As Nanami imparts his last words to Yuji, Mahito blows him up to Yuji's horror before their final fight begins. Mahito then makes the statement that Yuji is him to his confusion before he states that if Yuji can't understand and accept that fact, he has no chance of beating him. The two of them immediately get to throwing hands with some excellent choreography in the manga and the anime adaptation of this fight. Two combatants start displaying new tools in their kits that they've picked up from their previous fight/encounters since the last time they met. Yuji displays his more refined cursed energy control and increased martial arts skill he's picked up from his fights against Todo, Hanami, Eso, Kechizu, Awasaka, and Shozo, and Mahito displays his more refined and creative uses of idol transfiguration he's come up with from his fights against Kokichi/Mekamaru, Gojo, and experiments with transfigured humans. Mahito starts employing tactics and damaging Yuji's resolve further in mental warfare by using other humans in the subway that seem transfigured before mutilating them in front of Yuji to throw them off before deciding to toss another piece onto the chessboard. As we find out, Mahito had split himself into two beings, and his other half had found Nobara and plans to bring her corpse to Yuji to destroy his mentality completely. Only to find out Nobara is another perfect counter to him, with her resonance technique sending a shockwave to the clone and the real Mahito right as he was about to land a potentially fatal blow on Yuji, allowing him the opening to land an insane corner combo on Mahito, pummeling the disaster curse until he managed to break away to meet up with his clone. The two Mahito pull a switcheroo technique and catch Nobara off guard enough to hit her face and blow it up with idol transfiguration, killing her in front of Yuji. At this point, Yuji had already experienced numerous losses. His defeat at the hands of Chozo, Sukuna's rampage, and the death of Kento Nanami. His resolve had long since been pushed to its limit, and now, with the death of Nobara, Yuji had reached the brink of despair. Even worse, basking in the despair of Yuji Itadori, reveling in his identity as a true curse, in a pure euphoric bliss, Mahito hits his very first black flash. The sparks of black do not choose who to bless. Mahito then batters onto Yuji's anguish further, berating him for ever believing that this would all be sunshine and rainbows. Mahito points out the difference in how neither of them cared for a second about counting how many humans or curses they've killed. Right as Mahito was about to try and finish Yuji off, Yuji disappears. Right as Yuji is about to fall, fully diving completely into the pit of despair, Aoi Todo appears. We are the exception. Todo then attempts to cheer Yuji back up so they can continue the fight against the scourge of humanity, Mahito. Todo tells Yuji that trying to find meaning in the deaths of their allies is not the best way to honor their deaths of their companions, and to keep moving until he finds out what he's been entrusted with. As Todo goes to fight Mahito on his own, Yuji gets patched up by Arata Nita, saying that there is a small chance Nobara could still live, to give Yuji a bit more hope to be able to continue the fight. As Todo is about to be struck by Mahito, Yuji is clapped back into the battlefield as his focus ramps up and he hits a black flash, resolving himself to finish Mahito here and now. The three fighters get back into the brawl right as Todo focuses his resolve not to let Yuji feel alone again and hits a black flash. Now, all three fighters are operating at 120% of their full potential. As they break out of the subway to fight above ground, Mahito shows his growing evolution as he deploys a new use of idol transfiguration to take out Todo. From the fight for a minute to isolate Yuji before Todo returns to the fight, leading Mahito to pull out a desperate domain expansion of 0.2 seconds that results in Todo losing a hand and Mahito hitting his second Black Flash, only for Todo to pull off one last boogie woogie for Yuji's own Black Flash counter. Unfortunately though, Yuji was too late and Mahito, after being blessed with the sparks of black a second time, ascends to his true form. And the third round of this Jujutsu grudge match begins. The two combatants continue their fight as Yuji realizes that Mahito's durability has increased dramatically and he's practically become a totally different beast. They both realize that the only way for Yuji to beat Mahito at this moment is a super powered up maximum Black Flash. The two swing at each other to end the battle, with Mahito attempting to bait an attack from him, but the first strike was just a delayed impact. Divergent Fist. Mahito, desperate, attempts another attack, only for Todo to distract him with a false swap. And at that moment, Yuji's voltage ramps up and the black sparks shine, his last Black Flash, beating the disaster curse of humanity once and for all. As Mahito struggles, searching for one last gambit, Yuji approaches him with a few final words, ending the fight in one of the most beautiful and poetic panels in the entire series. So, now that I've somewhat recapped the fight, let's explain the core theme of this and how Yuji during this fight had begun to adopt Mahito and even Sukuna's mentality by the end. The concept in this fight that is constantly brought up is that Yuji and Mahito are two sides of the same coin, two parallel beings of Jujutsu sorcery. Mahito murders, mutilates, and violates humans because that is his nature as a curse, and he does it because that is what curses are meant to do. He doesn't look for meaning in it or reason because he acknowledges that there is no point. He doesn't believe that what he's doing is right or wrong. Mahito doesn't subject himself to contemplating the idea of morality in regards to his actions towards humanity. He commits himself to just killing and mutilating humans because that is what he wants. This mentality is what Jogo and Sukuna allude to at the end of their fight in that dreamscape. Yuji does the same thing in exercising spirits as a Jujutsu sorcerer, albeit much less graphically than Mahito. Yuji, however, does this believing that it is the right thing to do, that he is acting as a hero by doing this, saving people, that morally he's doing the right thing. He tries to use morality as a way to find meaning in his task as a sorcerer, and that is what holds him back. As we saw before with Gojo as a teenager in Hidden Inventory, when alleviated of the burden of a task and stopping the senseless act of trying to find meaning, they achieve greater powers as sorcerers. So this mentality had been holding Yuji back. He holds on to this belief throughout the first act until the end of Shibuya with his fight against Mahito. After the numerous deaths he's witnessed, and Yuji still trying to find reason or meaning in any of it, he almost dies against Mahito until Todo gives him the pep talk to drop that way of thinking and focus solely on the exorcism of Mahito, and once he can do that, Yuji hits a last Black Flash and beats Mahito. His mindset shifts as we see the difference between him at the start of Shibuya and him when he gives the I'm you speech, saying he doesn't need to find meaning or reason anymore. He fully commits himself to just killing as many curses as he can, especially Mahito each time he comes back until he returns in the next life. Yuji truly becomes and accepts his role as a Jujutsu sorcerer, and for the time being accepts the mentality of Mahito and Sukuna that he won't stop to justify or find meaning in killing curses. He will just kill them until he eventually passes away. The only issue in this is how Yuji now interprets himself as a cog in the greater machine of Jujutsu sorcery. However, the resolution of that idea will be seen soon at the end of Jujutsu Kaisen. All in all, Yuji vs Mahito is a masterpiece of a fight, granting us an excellent final fight to the first act of the series, giving important and great development to Yuji as a character and giving some of the best panels and moments we've ever had in the series. Gege was in his bag when writing this final fight between these two. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to let me know to keep making content like this. Anyways, that's all for now. Frost out. Peace.